You may have spent your whole life trying to be liked, smiling at the right time, saying the right things, holding yourself together, just to earn a nod, a compliment, or simply the feeling that you won't be left behind. But have you ever felt tired? Have you ever asked yourself, if tomorrow were my last day, would I regret not having lived truthfully? This video doesn't promise to teach you success. It won't tell you how to make someone love you, but it will show you one thing. Something that, if you understand it, could lift half the weight off your shoulders. You don't need approval to be happy. You just need the courage to be disliked. And in the end, that's when you'll finally be free. Part 1. A short story. It was drizzling. I was sitting in an old cafe, my hands wrapped around a warm ceramic cup. A man in his 40s, face worn like he'd weathered too many winters, sat at the next table. He said, "I've spent more than half my life just trying to be liked." I didn't say anything. I just listened. And he went on, as if quoting a passage from a book he believed might save him. People suffer because they care too much about what others think. I'd heard that before, somewhere, but this time, it sank into me like strong liquor. He said the book was The Courage to be Disliked, written by a Japanese philosopher and a writer. Not the kind of self-help book full of promises, but a quiet confession. True freedom is daring to be disliked. Happiness doesn't need the world's kindness. It needs your own courage. I looked out the window. A young couple walked by, hand in hand. Maybe they were falling in love. Or maybe they were just acting, playing roles for the world to see. Who's to say? Part 2. You're not hurt by your past. You're hurt by how you choose to remember it. I once knew a girl named Lena. She worked at a small bookshop at the end of the street. The kind of person you'd overlook unless you really stopped and looked. But if you did, you'd see something in her eyes. A quiet sadness you couldn't ignore. One time, when the shop was empty except for the two of us, I asked, "Lena, do you believe in love?" She smiled, a crooked, tired kind of smile. "My dad left when I was 7. My mom didn't cry, but I knew she died on the inside. No anger, no tears. Just a story told like any other she might have read in a book. But I understood. People like Lena don't need to cry to fall apart. She lived quietly, like someone waiting to be left again. Not because she didn't hope for good things, but because she thought they were never meant for her. See?" she'd say after every breakup. "Everyone leaves eventually." As if that were a law of nature. But Kishimi says, and I believe, that no pain is final. No past slices you open on its own. We're the ones holding the knife, in the way we remember, in the way we retell that story to ourselves. You're not the abandoned child. You're the adult telling the story. And you can rewrite it. You're not the victim of memory. You're the one editing the script. And if you're brave enough, you'll write a different ending. Not to forget the past, but to forgive yourself for holding on to it for too long. Part 3. Unhappiness is a strategy. Harsh, but true. There was a man named Rick I once met at a small roadside bar. Every Friday night, exactly at 8 p.m., he would show up, order a beer, sit in the same old creaky chair in the corner, and speak to no one. If anyone asked, he'd shrug. "I just don't click with people." People thought Rick was a lonely guy life had abandoned. But over time, I realized no one abandoned Rick. Rick stepped back on his own. Because, as Kishimi and Koga say, some people choose unhappiness, not because they love pain, but because suffering excuses them from having to change. Sadness can numb, but it's also familiar. It's the old blanket, the wobbly chair you keep sitting in even though it hurts your back. Because getting up takes effort. Rick once had a girl, I was told. She truly loved him. But Rick left before she ever could. He didn't want to fall in love, because love meant risk. And he feared failure more than loneliness. People like Rick never say, "I choose sadness." They say, "I didn't have a choice." But the truth is, there always is a choice. Choosing unhappiness is a way to hide. It's a way of saying, "I didn't try, so I didn't fail." But deep down, they know, not trying is already a kind of failure. Part 4. The most dangerous trap: living for approval. I once had a friend named Marla. She never left her house without brushing her hair exactly 3 times. Every photo she posted was edited through at least 2 apps. And every night after work, the first thing she did wasn't to shower or eat. It was to scroll and count how many people had hearted the picture she posted that morning. "Only 42. I must look bad today," she sighed. I remember joking once, "Why not live like no one's watching?" She smiled faintly, but I knew that question wasn't funny to her. Because for Marla, approval wasn't optional. It was oxygen. Without it, she couldn't breathe. I used to be like that too. I'd change my tone just to sound agreeable, compliment someone just to get one in return, write things I didn't believe in just because I thought, this will get likes. Kishimi was right. Living like that is living in a prison. And you're the warden. You don't have to be a reflection of someone else's expectations. No one is born to be a mirror for others. Your existence doesn't need a like button to be valid. We don't lack confidence. We're just afraid. Afraid of being disliked, afraid of being left behind, afraid of being ourselves with no one noticing. But that's what courage really is, living true to yourself, even when no one applauds. Part 5. What do you do when you're not recognized? You give up, then hate yourself. I once knew a man named Bill. He was a plumber, quiet, big hands, soft voice. He loved a girl for 3 years, bought her flowers, picked her up after night shifts, even fixed her mother's bathroom without taking a dime. But she never chose him. Never once. After that, Bill never loved again. He didn't write poems on Facebook like some broken-hearted men. He just went quiet and started drinking. One night, when the bar was nearly empty, I asked him, "Why don't you try again?" He looked at me, his eyes dull like the bottom of a beer glass. I'm not the kind of person anyone wants to stay with. Sound familiar? That kind of sentence people say as if it's been certified, sealed in ink. But it's not truth. It's the excuse they build around the moment they stopped believing, stopped trying, stopped living. Kishimi calls this the second strategy of unhappiness, abandoning the dream of being loved, then wrapping yourself in sadness like a coat to hide the fact you've quit. They still live for recognition, just in a different key, using pain to justify their flaws. They're unloved must mean they're unlovable. They judge themselves like cold-hearted judges. No appeals, no retrials. They don't dare try again because they're afraid they'll be proven right. I really don't deserve love. So they live like that, never failing again, but never truly living either. Part 6. Living to be liked is a competition no one wins. My neighbor's kid, 17 years old, often sits on the front steps with headphones in, eyes always looking farther than needed. One day I asked him, "What college are you thinking of applying to?" He shrugged, then said softly, like a breeze, "Feels like everyone's out here trying to win gold medals for being the nicest person." I laughed at first, then went silent. Because the kid was right. We're taught, drilled into us, that if someone else is praised, we must try harder. If they're called smart, where does that leave us? If they're loved, is there still space for us? Bit by bit, every compliment someone else gets starts to sound like a slap in the face. You see someone happy, you don't celebrate them. You worry for yourself. Because in that silent contest, if they win, you must be losing. Kishimi calls it a zero-sum game. If someone laughs loudly, you must go quiet. If someone is praised, you must shrink. As if the world only had room for one good person. But life isn't a stage, and we're not here to compete over who gets the most applause. Sometimes, life isn't about who's better. It's about who can keep their heart intact while everyone around them is straining just to be called worthy. Part 7. Love is not a negotiation, and helping is not a contract. She told me about her ex-husband on a gray afternoon, when the cafe was so quiet you could hear spoons tapping against cups. He did everything, really. No one could say he was lazy or didn't care, but he kept bringing up all the things he did. One time she forgot their anniversary. He slammed the door. One time she was tired and didn't want to be intimate. He went silent for a week. One time she didn't say thank you after dinner. He smashed a glass. "I did everything for you. You owe me." Sounds familiar, doesn't it? There are people who help you. Not because they want to. They help to earn points. They love to be loved back. They give as if they're signing a contract. And when you don't sign it in return, they get angry. But as Kishimi says, if you help just to be acknowledged, that's not kindness. That's an investment. And you're a shareholder in emotions. The problem is, feelings don't come with interest. There's no profit sheet. And no one owes you love just because you gave them yours. The truth is, when you help someone, the only thing you should hope for is peace in your own heart. If that's not what you feel, then don't help. Because love isn't accounting. It's what you do when you expect nothing, except maybe for your chest to feel a little lighter afterward. Part 8. Want to be happy? Don't ask to be loved. Ask if you're useful. There's an old bookshop on the corner of Elm Street, where wind slips through rotting shelves, and the wind chime on the door sounds like memories falling to the floor. I stopped by one rainy afternoon just to take shelter. And that's where I met him. An old man with silver hair, a cane in one hand, and eyes completely blind. I hadn't even touched a shelf when he asked me, "Need help finding something?" I stayed quiet. Didn't know how to answer. He couldn't even see. But every time I returned after that, he was still there. Always asking the same thing to anyone who walked through the door. At first I thought he was putting on a show. Later I realized he lived for the feeling that he could still be useful to someone. No one praised him. No one remembered his name. But I'm certain he slept well every night. Kishimi wrote, "When you feel useful, you don't need recognition, you don't need medals or likes. You just need one reason to wake up tomorrow and not feel like your life is a mistake. And sometimes that reason is small, like recommending a book, holding a door open, or simply placing your hand on someone's shoulder and letting them know, 'I see you.' You don't need to be loved loudly. You just need to feel, 'I matter.' And honestly, that's enough for a life not wasted." Part 9. True kindness begins when no one is watching. Someone once said to me after a charity event, "I help people because I want to be a good person." I understood what they meant, but something in that sentence left me cold, as if kindness were a performance, and the audience was mandatory. Kishimi said, "Helping others just to be seen as good is still living for approval." I couldn't argue with that. I just remembered an old woman who lived at the end of my street. She used to collect leftover loaves of bread, still good enough to eat, and quietly place them in paper bags on the fence near the homeless shelter. No one knew her name. No one took pictures and posted them online. She didn't need any of that. One time I asked her, "Aren't you afraid people won't say thank you?" She smiled, her eyes wrinkled like dry earth after a long drought. "I just need to know they're not hungry. True kindness doesn't need a stage. It happens in the dark." Like someone lighting a lamp at night, not hoping to be noticed, just hoping the next person won't trip. Happy people aren't the ones who are applauded. They're the ones who lie in bed at the end of the day, think about what they did, no matter how small, how unseen, and feel light. No one's perfect. But if you can still do something for someone without needing credit, you're not useless. And that alone is reason enough to wake up tomorrow. Part 10. You don't have to prove anything. No big success, no perfection. Just live honestly. I once met a man named Walter. He was in his 60s, thinning hair, thin frame, worked cleaning office windows. Every morning, he pushed his cart through crowded streets full of people in a hurry. No one noticed him. No one called his name. One day I asked him if it ever made him sad, doing the same job his whole life. He looked at me and answered softly, "As long as I don't hate myself, I'm fine." That answer stayed with me for years. Some people die without ever having lived honestly. They spend their lives on someone else's schedule, studying what they're told, loving who they're expected to love, working jobs labeled secure futures. They're so busy they never stop to ask, "Who am I when no one's looking?" Kishimi wrote, "You don't need to achieve anything to deserve happiness." We forget that. We think we need to make money, earn status, find love, become our best selves, just to be worthy of love, of breath, of being. But sometimes, a single day where you don't pretend, an afternoon with coffee and no one to impress, a quiet nod to yourself whispering, "I'm living true," that's enough. Not everyone will shine, but everyone deserves peace within their own skin. Part 11. Conclusion. A life worth living is a life with the courage to be disliked. You can be kind, gentle, a good listener, and still, someone won't like you. You can love with everything you have, give without counting, and they'll still leave. There will be moments when you ask yourself, "What did I do wrong?" But the truth is, sometimes you didn't do anything wrong at all. Recognition is like a shadow. Chase it, and it runs. But if you stand still, live right, live honestly, it will settle quietly behind you. Instead of chasing after how others see you, stand in front of the mirror and ask, "Am I betraying myself?" If the answer is no, then you're already enough. No medals needed. Kishimi calls it the courage to be disliked. I call it the courage to truly live. Live as if tomorrow were your last, not needing forgiveness, not needing more love, just needing to be yourself, fully, unapologetically, and without regret.